I am so excited to be here with our featured member for summer 2022, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Courtney.
This was a no-brainer nomination from our team, and many of our instructors and team members were like, absolutely, it's Lisa's time to step into the spotlight. And we are so excited to feature you because some of the things that our instructors said were, you have such a commitment to your own self-care and to recognizing that relationship with your body and where movement comes in to feeling your best. You seem to always have a smile on when you come to classes and are willing to just be yourself and be authentic and be vulnerable and to celebrate and connect with other members. So we love having you and are so grateful for having you as part of our community. And I was just saying, I'm really excited to be able to share your story and to celebrate your wins and to have other people get to know you a little bit better. So my first question is, how long have you been a member of the Loyobo community and what initially inspired you to join in?
So I probably joined almost 3 years ago. I had just recently moved to Guelph and I didn't know a soul and I was looking for a gym to get connected to. I had been doing yoga and Pilates in Nova Scotia before I moved there. So it was important to me. And I guess I was looking for a gym that didn't feel like a gym. that it was really welcoming and wasn't going to make me feel self-conscious about myself or my body. And I have a back issue. So I didn't want to go somewhere where it was going to be competitive or, and I couldn't keep up with that. So something that was very inclusive. And the other thing, the typical things that you would look for were, when are your classes, and are they classes that I think would be what I'm looking for? Because I was looking for more gentle yoga classes. And the other part was when I went to visit Loyobo and I can't remember who it was I met at the time. I don't think they're there any longer, but I met her and I knew instantly when I saw the facility and when I met her that this was the vibe that I was looking for. So that's kind of how I was drawn to it initially.
I love that. And I'm going to ask this maybe as a two-parter, because, you mentioned that when you joined, community was really big and continuing your movement routine was really big and really important to you and meeting other people. When it comes to what your current goal is, when it comes to loving your body, what is that and how has it evolved since that kind of initial joining period?
For me, I think one of my goals is to stop comparing myself to others and just being kind to myself. And so a technique that I've kind of learned over maybe the last year and a half, 2 years, and some of it probably comes from being at Loyobo, is this whole acknowledge how I'm feeling and then just, it's okay to feel that way, and then just let it go and then move on from there. And I really want to start listening to my body more. So if that means it needs something in a particular time, whether it's rest or movement or stretching or strengthening or meditation, that it's okay to modify and do those things, because in the long run, that's going to be better for me instead of trying to do something because somebody else is doing it.
Yes, which especially when it comes to movement, right? That comparison game is so easy to slip into. So I love that you shared that. And hopefully that's something that can be heard to anybody who's watching this as well. So when it comes to your self-love journey and your relationship with your body, what's a challenge that you have faced in that time, and what have you found to be helpful in working to overcome it?
So I think there's probably several things that I struggle with, like every time.
Where do I start?
Yeah. But one of the things that kind of comes to mind is I mentioned that I had a back injury, and that's been 10 years of chronic pain and trying to figure out what's wrong and being undiagnosed. And yoga actually became the way that I first started yoga for pain management. It was very debilitating. And so because of that back injury and a few recent health issues, I kind of struggle with not being able to do some things the way I was able to do them in the past. So some things I might not be able to do at all, and some things I have to change them. And it was really hard for me to kind of accept that. But what I've kind of moved into in the last few years, accepting that change is okay and I can change with it. So it's all about taking baby steps and sort of celebrating the wins, the small wins along the way. And in the end, I think I'll be stronger for it and be able to do more things, even though I feel like I can't do them now, that I probably can do things if I take that approach.
Yeah. And especially I love how that kind of ties in. It's not just trying not to compare yourself to other people. It's also trying to compare yourself to maybe the younger version of you or the pre-back injury version of you, because I think we all, especially when it comes to our bodies, we all tend to have that habit of comparing past selves with what we can do now and really shaming ourselves for it. Absolutely. And I'd love to ask you, when it came to your, I think that a lot of people who have pain, especially something like back pain that's chronic and ongoing, what helped you accept that movement was part of your healing strategy? Because I know that many people get afraid, right? Of like, oh, I don't want to re-injure myself or aggravate the pain. And they kind of avoid that as part of the healing strategy.
Mm-hmm. So for me, the first 6 months, I fell down my stair and I had a compression injury in my tailbone. So the first 6 months was just 24 hours of pain. So nothing helped to get better or get worse. So if I moved, it didn't matter. If I didn't move, it didn't matter. But eventually what happened is sort of shifted over that first year. And the thing that actually brought me some relief were short 10-minute walks multiple times a day and then icing it in between. And so that was kind of my go-to for the first 2 years of hurting my back, was just doing short walks and moving. Because I noticed when I wasn't moving that it sort of seized up or the pain would get worse. Mm-hmm. And interesting that you say that about people being scared to try moving because it may hurt it. My very first time doing yoga at the community center down from my house, my very first day, and it was from doing Shavasana, like laying flat on my back. I regressed in my pain about 4 months.
Ouch.
And it was not expected, and it was not pretty, but I thought, okay, it's happened. So back to walking, and I kind of put yoga on the side, but then over time tried it again and realized, don't lay flat on your back. So there are little learnings that you make along the way. So I do a lot of modifications in my class with props and sitting on certain things, just because over time I found out different ways to ease that.
I love that. And I think what's that important takeaway is creating space outside of the all or nothing approach. Because I think and kudos to you for coming back to it, because I think so many people would say like, oh, that hurt, never trying it again. But recognizing that, especially when we're talking about chronic pain, it's about working with your body, about learning what works and what doesn't, and understanding those different signals and giving yourself that permission to exist in the middle. So kudos to you. And I hope, people, if you're struggling with pain, keep trying, keep showing up, because that's definitely the best way forward, and to building a new relationship with your body kind of post injury or with that pain. Mm-hmm. So what was your life like before joining the Loyobo community, and how did you feel about your body at that time?
Yeah, so I've always been involved with sports. I did figure skating competitively when I was younger. And so going to a gym or going to exercise classes or dance classes was just part of my life. I was pretty familiar with it. But there's also times throughout those years where I would stop, and I really knew, like when I wasn't being active or having some sort of physical activity for a few days, I did not feel good. So I knew early on that movement was good for my mind, and it was good for my body as well. I wouldn't say that I've always had the best relationship with my body. I think it's an evolving thing. Growing up, I've had weight fluctuations. I've had a love-hate relationship with food. I was never able to kind of meet my ideal goals of what I was looking for. And most of the time, I think it was because they were just completely unrealistic and unattainable. Which now is worse in society with us looking at images that are not even real. They're digitally changed and modified. So yeah, it's been a difficult journey, but I just turned 50 in April. And yeah, yay. And I can say now that I'm slowly starting to get to a place where, I can say I love my body. It's still a work in progress. But yeah, I think it's better now than it definitely was probably in my 20s and early 30s.
I love that. And yeah, happy 50th.
Thank you.
And
I'm embracing it.
As you should. And what would you say that Loyobo had as part of, like, what role did Loyobo play as part of that growth and shifting your relationship with your body and kind of, as you said, like stepping into a little bit more of that love evolution rather than not feeling so great?
Right. I think the biggest thing for me is learning to be grateful and gratitude. And so I think it must be almost 2 years ago, I started a challenge that was a 1-month gratitude challenge. And you were to write something every day, right? It's a simple thing. You hear them all the time. And I have not stopped. And in fact, now every morning I have this book that somebody has given me. I really love it because it has a bit of structure to it. So I sort of like that. It's 2 minutes of gratitude, it's called. And it has what I'm going to let go of for today, what I'm grateful for today, and 3 things that I'm going to focus on. And what I really love about it is it's short and quick, but it gets me thinking about how I want to start my day. It gets me thinking about maybe things that I'm holding in that are holding me back or putting me in a bad mood or making me feel bad about myself. And you can kind of write them down, and it's a little bit like putting them out in the world, and now they're gone. So it's that whole accept it and then let it go, and writing down what I'm going to focus on. It can be anything. It could be, I'm going to do this interview today that I really am terrified about doing, but I'm going to do it, right? Yeah. Once it's on paper, it feels like you put it in motion. So I think I've learned a lot of that, because a lot of your classes start with a bit of gratitude talk. And I really enjoy how the classes, I do all online classes because I'm now in Nova Scotia. So I've been able to keep my membership with the online. That's one good thing of the pandemic for me, I guess. Yeah. But I really enjoy how all the classes sort of begin with some sort of conversation. It can be simple, it can be targeted, whatever it may be. And I feel like it develops networks. So I have that now from being part of Loyobo. And I know that I could reach out to various people if I wanted to. There's lots of avenues to do that. In fact, I actually got connected with somebody through one of your instructors that had a similar health condition and put me in touch with them. And I didn't know them. I think we had met a couple times in person when I was in Guelph and had a good conversation. So you just never know. So I guess it's the network of community that has also helped with changing the way you feel about yourself and seeing other people going through a similar journey as you.
Yeah, not feeling alone is like, it's a game changer, especially when there's so many industries trying to make you feel abnormal and to make you feel alone, that having those conversations and connections is immensely beneficial. So I'm really glad that you've been able to experience that as well. And I'd love to know, you said it's almost been 3 years. What is one of your favorite memories from your time as a Loyobo member?
I am going to pick something that happened quite recently in a class with Lindsay. And I can't remember I think it was based on a book or somebody that she knew. And she talked about changing the way we talk and speak. And instead of saying, I have to do something, because it can have a very negative connotation. She
Mm-hmm.
said, why not rephrase it and say, I get to do this today, right? So I have to go mow the lawn. Yay, it's wasting like an hour of my time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I get to mow the lawn and move and relax my mind and get some fresh air. And so it's the exact same activity, but it's a totally different mindset. So what I've done since that class is I've written down on a piece of paper by my in my kitchen, and it just says I get to, and I look at it all the time, and it's like a trigger to kind of go, okay, keep that frame of mind. And what I really want to do is add words to it every time I think of something, and have this
Mm-hmm.
huge list that you can go back to, and so say I get to. And it kind of ties back to my back issue and how I felt like I didn't get to do things because of that. And then
Yeah.
reframing that and saying, but you do get to.
Yeah. And I love that it's so similar to what you talked about with your daily gratitude practice as well. It's really making that intentional choice of how you show up and how you shift your perspective on your life and your body. Okay, my last question is there any advice that you have to somebody who is thinking about taking that first step and starting their self-love journey?
I think the biggest advice would be kind to yourself. So you're not going to be perfect and love everything about your body all the time, and that's absolutely okay. So it goes back to the acknowledge and accept those moments when you might be where you are at the time, and then just release them. And there's really something about like my background's a teacher, so I'm all about lifelong learning, and it sort of reminds me um, about learning and how it's difficult sometimes. And sometimes as you're learning, you're not perfect, and you learn from it and get better. So
Mm-hmm,
I kind of
mm-hmm.
relate to it like that. And this has kind of helped me see things differently. It helps me feel less anxious about stuff. It's helped me become confident in who I am. So self love to me is not about looking at every little piece of the puzzle, which is what I'd be doing in the past, but more
Mm-hmm.
about the overall picture when you put all those pieces together and what it creates. So, you can be strong and confident and independent, but at the same time, you can be doubtful, nervous, and fearful. And really, that's okay. And we're all completely different. And that's what makes the world so colorful and dynamic. Because if we were all the same, it'd be pretty bland. So, be kind to yourself and radiate.
And I love this because even, just coming from somebody who's been doing this sort of work for a long time is, as you said, recognizing that it's always an evolution and that it's, I always say it's loving your body is not about waking up in the morning every single day and looking in the mirror and saying, this is fantastic, but it's just about having that foundation of really knowing your self-worth. And I'm really glad that we've gotten to be a part of your journey. And is there anything else that you want to share today?
No, it's just been a pleasure to be here and chat with you. I think we were chatting earlier how it's so different when you get to chat outside of your regular routines. And
Outside of those class introductions.
no, it was certainly lovely, and I'm really grateful to be able to have maintained my membership with Loyobo over. I kept it when I moved here, and I kept going. I've kept it. It went to full virtual, so that was another benefit. And then I've had some health issues, and I've been off work this year, and it was the one thing that I said, how long am I not going to be able to go to classes? And so it's what keeps me going every day, is going there and having that network and feeling good after class as well as during class. So yeah, it's been kind of one of those little lifelines. And even during the pandemic, I didn't know a soul in Guelph. So 6 days a week, I think I went to classes during the pandemic when I was in Guelph and virtually, and it kept me going. And that was the one constant that helped me through. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That means so much more than you'll ever know. And as I said, please take this as not just for me, but our entire team. As we all feel very grateful to know you and to have you as part of our community. So Thanks, Lisa, for being here with me today.
Thank you so much. And maybe, you never know, I might be in Guelph and see you again in person.
Maybe.